All right, so where do we stand on tariffs? Right, so this is one of the questions that people have actually asked me in my normal life, regular life as well. So I was doing a bit of a research to understand where do we stand on tariffs. So let's understand what tariffs are. So basically, tariffs are the taxes that a country puts on the products that it imports. So, for example, if India is importing the costly cars and vehicles that are manufactured outside India, then there's when they get into the India, those products they enter India, then there is a particular tax that is levied on that particular product. So that tax is called the tariff. Okay, and the most interesting question: who pays that tax, right, or the tariff? Who is ultimately accountable for the tariff? Okay, so in this here we're taking the example of US. So let's say the Shimla apples, apples are mostly predominantly grown in the Shimla, Himachal Pradesh region of India. Let's say the Shimla apples, they go to US is importing those. US is not importing Shimla apples, but let's take this for an example, right? So US is importing the Shimla apples from India to US, right? So the cost of, let's say the cost of the Shimla apple is 10 rupees. Okay. By the time it goes to US, it becomes $10. Let's give it, just giving you a raw example. Okay. It is not $10, it's way less than that. Just giving you a raw example. Right. By the time it reaches US, it is $10. Now, if the tariff, the current existing tariff on India is 50%. So 50% of $10 is $5. So by the time the Shimla apple, each Shimla apple, it gets into the store, the cost of the Shimla apple becomes $15. And who is supposed to pay that $15? It is the consumer. Whosoever is buying that Shimla apple from an American store has to pay $15 to buy it. So $10 goes to the entire cycle of the supply chain management, and the $5 goes to the government of United States. So this is a way of governments creating more revenue generating ideas and promotions and strategies. Right now, who is collecting? I think that bit is clear. The government collects the tax, right? And why does a government collect tax? Because it needs to run the system. It needs to, in order to run the system, in order to run a country, it needs to move things from point A to point B. It needs to exercise certain activities. So in order to do all these things, there's always a financial factor involved. And where does the country get money from? From the taxes that it collects from the people. So it uses the taxes to build the infrastructure, to create the facilities for the people. And in case if there is a certain condition where people need money, like there was a disaster or some kind of relief that people will need as a result of certain event that has happened in the country, then that money is again provided by the government. And where does government collect that money from? Again, from the taxes, right? So in this way, I think you have got a fair idea about what taxes are, who is paying what tariffs are, who is paying the tariffs, right? And the tariffs, the US tariffs on India is about 50%. So previously that was not the case. In order to move ahead, let's try to understand one more concept that is called as trade deficit. Okay, so what is trade deficit? All right, let's going by the same example of apples. Okay, so India is selling our apples, and let's say for the sake of example, US is selling oranges to India. Okay, so if India is selling apples, the cost of one apple, let's say India sold 10 apples. The cost of 10 apples that India sold to US is, by the time it goes there into US, it is $10. That's what we said, right? So 10 apples is $100. And let's take the example of oranges that are coming from US to India. So when 10 oranges come from there to here, right, the cost of each orange is again, let's say it is like $15 by the time it reaches India, right? So it is So 10 oranges. So that's like $150. So the trade deficit is this is actually not the trade deficit for India is $50 because we are buying more than we are selling. Okay, so if you flip the script on US, right? If US is buying more from different countries and it is selling less, right? Then there's a trade deficit for US, and that is the logic that or that is a premise. Let's not say that's logic. Trade deficit obviously has a logic, but that's the premise that Trump has leveraged to increase the tariffs on different countries, right? So in all the countries, with all the countries that US works with, and US primarily works with majority of the countries, right? So both from the developed and underdeveloped or partly developed countries, almost everybody, right? So something or the other, there's always a trade happening between both the countries. So overall, the cost of the products and services that US is selling is less than the products and services that US is buying from other countries. So obviously there is a trade deficit, and US and every country feels the gap, right? But the kind of terminology and the logic that Mr. Trump is actually selling to Americans is that, okay, trade deficit is there, that is nice. It's not nice, but that's the reality. But he has actually expressed it in a way that Americans were getting cheated, or the world is taking advantage of the system that is there in America, the trade system, the supply chain management system, the government policies, and all these. In a single word, I'm using a word called systems. So his opinion is that the world is taking advantage of India, taking advantage of the US system, and it is cheating US. So that's the kind of idea or the premise that he's selling to the Americans, and that's igniting the Americans more and more. So that's what is all the MAGA fever is all about, right? Make America great again. So he plans to make America great again. Is that to reduce the trade deficit, to promote more American products, and third is that to make sure that more American people get American jobs. So that's the idea there, right? So let's look at only the trade part. That's the whole supply chain engineering part there, right? So he said that the world is taking advantage and US is getting cheated. So this actually doesn't make sense, but the thing sells. Like how a negative story or a crime story or crime thriller sells, and people love to watch crime thrillers and some murder and show negative in such a dramatic way. So in the same way, I think Trump has been quite successful in directing such a wonderful movie that US is getting cheated. So let me explain this to you. When do I say that somebody is cheating me, especially in a trade? Let's say I buy something for I buy something for $10. Okay. But in reality, the cost of the product is only $8, and somebody is selling it to me for more than what it is worth, and I purchased it. Then maybe I can use the word called I am at a loss, I'm being cheated, maybe I should go to a different place where I would get the same material, same product, same service, same amount of respect as well, right? For $8. So that in that way I can manage the show. I can think of okay, I'm getting cheated, maybe I should figure out other avenues and ask my team to do some research on that. But this is slightly more complicated than this one, right? So let me explain it. So if America is importing a lot of stuff, right, from different countries, right, as per Trump's logic, he also wants to sell the equal amount of services and products that is getting from other countries. He wants to sell the equal amount of services to those countries. Okay, so that's the cheat code behind it, but let me explain that one little bit more. So how do I do that, Okay, so going by the same Shimla apples, so okay. So if India is able to produce surplus amount of apples, why will India buy apples from other countries? It will not. It will buy something else, right? And if the price is competitive, we go with the least price and best quality. That's the way that we do business. Or everyone does the business in the same way, right? So there is trade deficit, but trade deficit is happening because we or the world does not require so many products from America. Most of the products are being manufactured, right, which are part of the daily life. These products are part of the daily life for every other ordinary citizen to the richest person, right? These are products like soap, towels, toothbrush, like dress, textile, right? Comb, shoes, lace, belts, leather, and everything that we had, all the crockery, right? Everything that you have in kitchen, all the aluminium vessels and steel vessels and all the instruments, everything, like, metal, from metal to food, everything, right? So they are being generated in different other countries. Like, for example, all the chip manufacturing is happening in the Southeast Asia side, right? The low-cost plastic materials are being produced in the China side, right? The low cost, it's not just low cost, innovative stuff is also happening from the China side, and therefore there are more products coming from that side. But if you look at American side, what is America greatly manufacturing? Manufacturing, only looking at the manufacturing side. I'm not speaking of the telecom or the banking or the aeronautical sector or the military sector. I'm just talking about the normal things that affects every ordinary person. So let's look at it. So there are not much products that America can sell to the world, right? It can import a lot of stuff to make certain products for Americans. For example, bicycles. Bicycles are manufactured in America for Americans, okay? And the manufacturers try to keep the cost as low as possible, but in order to make the cost as low as possible, they have to reduce something. The only thing that is there in their hand to reduce is the labor cost. Everything else, because the raw materials, everything, they come from outside America. So only thing that is there in their hand to reduce is the labor cost. And if they reduce the labor cost, the labor also will work less. So that is again that they cannot accept, right? If the labor work less number of hours for less cost, obviously they will not be able to produce more. So keep the costs low, but make the people to work more and generate more products, make people buy more products and create more revenue. So that's a very, very complicated and a tough cycle to actually to run. Right? So overall, if you look at this thing, right, there are no products or services that people can buy from United States at larger scale that ordinary people can use it. Okay, the rich people, they obviously have the option to buy the Teslas of the world. Definitely they come at a higher cost, but I'm talking about the ordinary people who contribute to the economy of the country and economy of this whole supply chain engineering life cycle, right? So Trump saying that the world is cheating America, there's actually a flaw in that particular statement. The world is not cheating. It is just that the world is looking at competitive ways. They're looking at they're thinking like what is taught in any supply chain or business school, that is buy the product where you get it for the lowest cost and the best quality. That's it. That's the form of handshake. That's a business handshake that always happens, even between two brothers or two people within the family, or two companies trading with each other. Simple format, right? So along with this, what did Trump do is that they've also pushed a agenda that okay, stop illegal migration, right? So they're using the tariffs to communicate that one is that there's a trade deficit. Yes, that's the reality. There's a trade deficit, and there's nothing that much that American can do about it, because there are raw materials being produced outside the country, and countries don't need those products and services. Obviously, there will be a trade deficit. That's the reality. The second is that saying that the world is taking the advantage of US. Yeah, see, world has taken advantage of every developed country. It's not just US. Every developed, even Ireland also, world has taken advantage of that, right? So because it's a beautiful place, people go and see the place, and then they spend the money there. Okay, that's like good. I enjoy this. Even if I have to pay more, I'll pay more and I'll enjoy the place, and I'll come back, right? So world kind of taking advantage is like good and bad in that this kind of, it's not the correct statement to make or the right choice of words to make, right? Second is that third thing is that Trump has used again the tariff thing to communicate a message that stop illegal immigration. That's actually a good thing. Okay, it's actually a good initiative for people of United States, and I congratulate Trump sir for actually doing this. This is a wonderful thing that he has initiated, right? I think actually this is a long pending thing to remove illegal immigrants across the world, but there's also some sympathetic truth to that, because there are a lot of asylum seekers as well, right? Obviously they don't have a choice, so they have to be absorbed in a different country. They need a place to live. So if you just exclude that one bit, right, the illegal immigrants should not be present in any country. They should be returned to their originating or original country where they belong, right? So there was a huge drama in after Trump got elected in January, or Trump was officially formally declared as the president of United States of America, right? There was this thing, which is that for Q1 there was a lot of stuff on the tariff war on Liberation Day, right? And then the next cycle started, which is the immigration stuff. Remove all the illegal immigrants in Q2. That was the agenda there at that time. I mean, really, there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of uproar that was created, and all the news channels were, they were at the height of their pitch, right, to create more and more awareness, or propagate the message that illegal migrants are going away. Awesome. But the reality is there are about 1 million illegal migrants in US. How many of them actually were caught and thrown or sent to their parent country? Is there a statistics on this coming up anywhere in the Fox News or like how we have Godi media? Is there in the Trump media in US? No. That numbers are actually not coming out. So if there are about, I think there are about more than 1 million illegal migrants, and Trump's whole drama of catching the illegal migrant raw footages on YouTube and news and media, right? It's actually a very meager number, like maybe 100,000 people got caught. Maybe I'm giving you a very blown up number, but actually this is not, I don't have the correct numbers there, but it is definitely not more than 100,000 people were caught and sent back, right? And especially when Trump was deporting Indians, again, there's a huge uproar in the media. But if you just look at the numbers, people, not just India, the people from illegal migrants from Asia is way less compared to the illegal migrants of South America. All the Brazil, Mexico, Honduras, Chile, Argentina. So you have that whole continent there, the whole South American continent there, which is like like air, it's like pushing people up in the air, right? And it's pushing people up in the air to American states. So that is that should have been the primary focus of deporting all the illegal migrants and creating that awareness to the Americans that there are more illegal migrants coming from the southern part of this whole joint continent, which is North America and South America, and we'll have to get rid of them. But instead, there was a lot of uproar and created that chaos on media about Trump deporting 1,000 illegal migrants from India and all that, right? So this is all drama. It's a political drama to win something else or to divert the attention of the people from something that is truly impacting the country. I think I'll cover those things, like what is actually impacting the American financials. I would say that how much debt does America have on the World Bank, and what is it actually doing. I'll try to explain that in the next video. But in this video, let's look at one last thing which I wanted to cover here. That is, so 50% tariff is like really, it's not just illogical, it's totally unreasonable. You can't reason that. And you have the concept of trade deficit. Okay, so if the trade deficit is 25%, you want to increase 25%. No, that's not the way to look at it. So you have a higher trade deficit with other countries, for example, Germany, France, Vietnam, Japan, Australia, some like Switzerland, including UK for that matter. But you have these are the countries where you have Ireland, yeah, including Ireland, even Ireland as well. So these are the countries where you have higher trade deficit, but the tariffs are low. So why focus on a country or a few countries like South Africa, Brazil, India, where you have very less trade deficit as compared to the other countries? Why do you have to increase the tariffs on these countries? These countries, like for example, India, it has 50%, Brazil 30% tariffs. But if you look at Japan and Vietnam, where you have where the trade deficit is actually high, very big, right? The tariffs are like low, like 15% tariffs, 15% tariffs only. Like China he has rolled out a 100% tariff on China, but that is currently relaxed for some time, right, until November. I don't know how things are going to unfold at that time, right? But the important point to note here is that there are few set of events that are happening in the financial world of US, which the government actually doesn't want people to know, because if people will get to know that how much debt that US has on different from the world or from the World Bank or few other places, right, or what kind of trade agreements that it has with different countries, right? So things may not go in the favor of the government, and people may fight back, and the government may crash. So they don't want this kind of stuff. And it's not like Trump is doing all these things. There's a set of huge array of intellectuals sitting behind, not behind, like in the Trump's army, who are actually thinking about these strategies and providing the ideas to them. Of course, I would not say that everything is their idea. Trump sometimes he rants and speaks impolitely, or just speaks out of his head, without even thinking sometimes. Right? And I would not say those things, but there are a few certain strategies that, like tariff is definitely a strategy, but it is a forceful strategy. It is not actually a well thought strategy. It's actually a forceful strategy because you have a higher trade deficit in other countries. But why only fixate your increased tariffs on only few countries where you have very less trade deficit, right? It means that the buy and sell is almost like, it's not such a huge gap that you have to worry so much. But if the gap is like tripled and quadrupled, like four times or five times the gap, then that's something that you have to worry. And with those countries, maybe you can have the higher tax there, higher tariffs there. I think UK is the only country which has actually negotiated with Trump. I mean, Keir Starmer is the only person I think who's negotiated with Trump. Maybe that's ready because UK and London is also crashing with cultural identity issues and job issues, and the whole country is getting in there's like so much stuff that is happening there, negative stuff, not on the positive side, definitely. So maybe Keir Starmer doesn't want a trade war with America at this point in time. That's why maybe the copper, the aluminium, and majorly aluminium and the steel that UK is selling to America, there's actually quite a very less tariff on it, or maybe the tariffs did not change from what they were before, right? Maybe the 10% has become effective, and maybe that 10% may not live after the end of the year. Those things I don't know about it, but right now just 10% tariff is there. I think that's still active, right? So 10% increase in tariff than on what it was before. So UK, I think, is the only country which has negotiated with America that okay, we'll do what you want, okay, in that way, right? So overall, I think there are I think covered a lot of areas today. So I think I'll come up with more things as I research more, and do subscribe to this particular channel. This is Eshwara's Take. I am Eshwara. My name is Eshwara. This is my opinion based on the information that is made available in public domain. Right? And I'll see you again in the next video. Thanks a lot. Keep encouraging me to subscribe to this channel. Thank you.